Hi, everyone. Good evening. Buenas noches. Welcome to everyone joining us from all over the country. My name is Gracia Martinez Rosas. I'm the Executive Director of United We Dream Action and part of the leadership team for the Frontline. The event will start shortly. We're so happy to have you tonight. We'll have today a spoken Spanish interpretation because at the Frontline, we are able to make sure that everyone is able to participate. So if you're listening in on the phone and wish to listen in this event in Spanish, make sure you press *0 to be transferred. You can also listen to the event in Spanish by calling the number 866-71529 and pressing *0. We will have closed captioning as well as ASL translation because at the Frontline, everyone is welcome and everyone is seen. You'll see the folks on the screen and throughout the event. Today's event is put on by the Frontline, a partnership with the Movement for Black Lives, Electoral Justice Fund, the Working Families Party, and United We Dream Action. And our co-sponsors for this event are Indivisible, SEIU, the Domestic Workers Alliance, and many others. Buenas noches a todos y a todas. Bienvenidos a nuestra llamada, todos ustedes que nos están uniendo esta noche de todas partes del país. Soy Gracia Martínez Rosas, soy directora ejecutiva de United We Dream Action y miembro del equipo de liderazgo de Frontline. El evento hoy día es solamente para ustedes y comenzará en un momentico. Habrá interpretación en español y si usted está escuchando por teléfono y quiere oír el evento en inglés, también puede ser parte de eso, pero si quieres escuchar el evento en español, por favor marque el *0 para ser transferido también. Puede escuchar el evento en español también por marcando el 866-785-1529, otra vez 866-785-1529 y presione el *0. También habrá subtítulos y traducción en idiomas de señas en inglés en la pantalla que puede ver durante el evento, porque aquí en el Frontline todos somos parte de eso y todos son bienvenidos. El evento de hoy es presentado por The Frontline en colaboración del Proyecto de Justicia Electoral de Movimiento para las Vidas Negras, que las vidas negras importan, el Working Families Party y United We Dream Action. Estamos muy entusiasmados. Bienvenidos. Welcome to all of you. I'm doing a Spanish welcome for our Spanish-speaking sisters and brothers. And we're so happy to have you here today. Again, my name is Gracia Martinez Rosas. I have the honor to serve as the Executive Director of United We Dream Action, part of the leadership team of the Frontline. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed, and I am here to stay. And I'm so happy that you're here with us tonight. We have a great show for you. And so with all of this, I am joined by so many talented people. So I'm going to pass it off to Nicholas O'Rourke to get us started. Nick?
Thank you so much, Gracia. It really is exciting to be on the call tonight with everyone. Good evening to every single person. I am Nicholas O'Rourke. I'm calling in from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I serve as the state organizing director of the Pennsylvania Working Families Party. So I'm going to be emceeing this thing tonight. As they say, emceeing this call this evening. Right now we have over 8,000, I'll say it again, over 8,000 people who are viewing us here tonight, listening to us here tonight. And if you dialed in and you're listening, we just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. So grateful to have you at this time and in this season. We thank each of you for taking time on this critical evening to be with us. We send love and power to everyone who is actively engaging in this election season with the understanding that our lives depend on it. We know very well the struggle to have our voices heard. We've been threatened by far-right forces, but that intimidation didn't stop us from showing up this election season, and it won't stop us moving forward. We have endured systemic attacks on our ability to vote, and we must continue to work and fight to ensure that we gain the outcomes we need for our safety, our health, our empowerment, and our freedom. I wish I could heard somebody said amen. We have been sacrificed to the pandemic and unprotected and cared for by our government, which has urged us to continue to unite and care for ourselves collectively like never before. We are braving an economic depression and white supremacist police violence. I want to pause and also recognize right now the name of Walter Wallier, who was murdered right here in the city of Philadelphia just last week. Let me quickly tell you, what's going to happen on this call. First, we're going to start with a Native American blessing from Madonna Thunderhawk. Then, we'll do a grounding exercise because we know that emotions are running very high. After that, we're going to spend a little time making some meaning of this moment. For those of you who joined our game plan teach-in just last week, we're briefly going to review what we know about our history and our current context, and what this tells us about our tactics going forward. We'll then get some key updates from the ground with reports from movement leaders in different states. Along the way, we're going to hear some words of inspiration, and we're going to make concrete requests of you to let you know what you can do to take action. So are you with me? I certainly hope so. It's great to know it. Madonna Thunderhawk from Cheyenne River Lakota Nation, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, my sister, please take it away.
Thank you so much for this honor. Gosh, when you said 8,000, that's overwhelming. But I'm so glad to be here for this few minutes. The main thing I see is I'm probably talking to, the choir, preaching to the choir. So just words of encouragement, I suppose, are important. But you know, lo, these many years I've been involved, I've seen so many ups and downs, that we've gone through in this country as for people of color. Um, so I feel good about the fact that what has happened is unique because now all the racism and all the negative uh, happenings in this country. I mean, with Trump in the White House, he just kind of opened the gate, so all the white supremacists could just be who they are out in the open. We've never really had that I can remember. So I think I just appreciate all you that are listening, that are here, because you're already achievers and you're already doers. And I just hope that we remember it's not a momentum. We can't look at it that way. Moment, that has the word moment, that puts a time on it. We need to look at every year now as an election year of some sort, and just keep up the struggle and keep pushing. I look at it as like a barrier, and we push and we just keep pushing. And when we take a break, there's someone to take our place. So we need to look at it in those terms and keep the solidarity. That's the term we used in my day, when I was young. Solidarity among all of us, people of color. Look what we've done, already with this election on a local level, and I just appreciate all of you. And I'm excited to hear what you have to say, all the other speakers. So thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Madonna Thunderhawk. We are grateful for the way that you have welcomed us into this gathering in spite of us being spread out across the country. This event is being organized by the Frontline, a collective effort led by the Movement for Black Lives Electoral Justice Project, also the Working Families Party, and of course, United We Dream Action. This call is also being sponsored by Indivisible, SEIU, Domestic Workers Alliance, and many others. I know many of you have already taken action with us. You've worked with the Frontline text team and our phone banks to Wisconsin and PA. Make some noise wherever you are. It's organized through the Working Families Party. You stood up our Election Defenders Program that trained thousands of people to be ready to de-escalate tension at polling sites. And you brought light and life to the vote through our Joy to the Polls project. We would not be where we are right now without each and every one of you, and you did it all during a devastating pandemic, economic distress, another stolen Supreme Court seat, and backlash to our demands for racial equity. Is everyone with me so far? Let's start with seeing where folks are at this point. How is everybody feeling tonight about the election we just had and this democracy of ours? We're taking a poll. We just need you to answer right on your phone. Are you excited? All right. Go ahead and press 1. Are you anxious? Go ahead and press 2. If you're hopeful, press 3. All right, go ahead, everybody. Let us know where you're at. Again, I'll say it again. If you're excited, we need you to go ahead and dial 1 into your phone. If you're anxious, go ahead and dial 2. We're just trying to get a good sense of where you're at. If you're hopeful, go ahead and dial 3. Again, if you're excited, dial 1. If you're anxious, let us know by hitting that number 2 button. And if you're hopeful, go ahead and press 3. We're going to be waiting for the results to kind of roll in. So I can't necessarily see the results, but that's fine. I'm assuming they're rolling in now. And my assumption is that there are some nerves and worries out there. And that's all right. That's why we've assembled this call. That's the point of us gathering together, even if it's over virtual means, or I guess analog means if you're dialed in, what have you. This is the reason why we gather. We're going to talk about where we're at, and we're going to make a real plan to win. Okay, then? That having been said, that having been made clear, let's do this. Let's pass it over to my dear comrade, Ashley Henderson.
Thank you so much, Nick, and thanks to all of my comrades who have been holding down my call and for the speakers that are coming after me. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ashley Woodard Henderson. I use she, her pronouns or anything said respectfully and in right relationships. I'm a proud member of the Movement for Black Lives Electoral Justice Project, and I'm the leadership team of the Frontline. Before we jump into action items and speakers, we want to do a couple of things. And the first thing we want to do is remind folks that interpretation is available on this call. So before I do any more of the grounding, I want to toss it back to my comrade Graysa Martinez to remind us of how you can actually be able to hear this conversation in Spanish if you so need it. So Graysa, I'm tossing it to you.
Bienvenidos a todos y a todas. My name is Graysa Martinez Rosas, and I serve as the Executive Director of United We Dream Action. I'm really honored to be part of the leadership team of the Frontline. A todas las que nos están escuchando esta noche, bienvenidos. Si quieren ser parte de la conversación en español, por favor marquen el asterisco y el número 0. Y también pueden marcar el 866-785-1529. Otra vez el 866-785-1529. We will also have ASL interpretation and some closed captioning because everyone at the Frontline is welcome. We want to make sure that everyone is able to hear and be inspired by our folks in the Frontline. So, bienvenidos. Let's get to it. Ash, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, comrade. We believe in language justice, so thank you so much for that. Thanks to our interpretation team. Shout out to Du Bois Hinchman for the ASL interpretation tonight. So now that we have settled that or in right relationship with all of our folks in terms of making sure that it's accessible tonight, we want to acknowledge what Nick just made available to us, that folks are feeling a lot of different things right now. It looks as though Joe Biden might very well be the next president of the United States. And we know that for some of us, if not all of us, that some people might be feeling a little cautiously relieved. We also know that some of us are exhausted from putting all that we had into this work, making calls, texting everybody that we knew and a lot of strangers in places that were important to this election, door knocking, having conversations with our family members, sharing info about how important this election cycle has been for races up and down the ballot. Some of us have been fighting for the reenfranchisement of our people, folks that are currently and formerly incarcerated. Some of us have been talking about how important it is to recognize that we have immigrant family members that weren't allowed to vote at all in this electoral cycle. Your body's been holding anxiety and expectation of the question, what happened on November 3rd? What did you do? And what comes next? As we mentioned during last week's teach-in, it is important that we acknowledge our complicated relationship to these elections and the challenges that they've presented in our communities. And even though many of the folks in our communities don't have access to this tool in our tactical toolbox, we also know that there's absolutely an imperative for us to participate in the fight for electoral justice. We know that money in politics and widespread voter suppression and manipulative gerrymandering has made the path to power through elections challenging. And yet, we know this election stakes could not have been higher. So we want to take just a little bit of time tonight to get grounded, to recognize that there is space and time for every single thing that you might be feeling tonight. That feeling any or all of these things is natural. So as we move into the struggle that follows this election period, let's think about how we rise to the occasion together. Let's affirm what we know, what is absolutely in our control. First, what we know for sure is that we made this happen, beloved. Each and every one of us, the thousands and thousands of people on this call. Not because we were electing a savior, but because we were electing our next target. We were controlling the terrain in which we would live to fight another day. We won this because we worked together, y'all. We came together across our differences to ensure that this moment would be possible. We came together because our people believe in democratic and participatory governance, and they deserve it for us and by us. Today, we are one small step closer to it because of the work that all of you have done. We are committed to being in this work together, moving forward. Although our work isn't yet finished, we celebrate what we are making happen all across this country. And what we know for sure is that we are not alone in this work, and we don't have to be. We have each other. Our strength is the power of our people in this united front, in this family known as the Frontline. So I now invite all of you, every single one of you, if you can, to join me in a brief meditation. If you want, you can close your eyes. Get as comfortable as you can. Imagine that your stomach is a balloon. As you inhale deeply, you want to gently fill the balloon up in your stomach. And as you exhale slowly, you want to deflate the balloon in your stomach. Let's try this 3 times. Inhale for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 2, 3, 4. Do that again. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold it. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. You all, we have nearly defeated Trump. Let those words settle into your body for a second. Do you feel the difference that it made to hear those words? To feel what you are feeling in your shoulders, in your heart space, in your gut. Feel the feeling under your feet. What changed? And take a second to acknowledge what hasn't changed. Trump may very well be on his way out of office, but not for a few months. And afterwards, Trumpism, white nationalism, capitalism, all of those things will still exist. Do you carry that in your body too? Do you carry grief for the people who suffered under Trump and Trumpism for the last 4 years? How does that feel in your shoulders, in your heart space, in your gut, under your feet? Let's hold both of those things, good people. It is not unreasonable to feel both optimism and deep grief in this moment. It shows that we are human. And as we end this meditation, let's remember to hold on to the reality of the power of our beloved commitment to collective liberation. We are not alone in this work. And together, victory is undoubtedly our destiny. Thanks, y'all. There are thousands of you on this call tonight. You may be at home. You may be in the streets right now. I know this exercise brought me a little grounding, and I hope that it brought you a little grounding wherever you are. I'm proud to be in struggle with each and every one of you. And now, let's move into the powerful work that we came here to do tonight. I'm so proud to be passing off to my dearest comrade, Grayson Martinez, to talk about making sense of this moment.
Thank you, Ash. I really needed that. Hi, everyone. My name is Graysa. I am so honored to be with all of you tonight. As an undocumented woman, as a queer woman, it is the honor of my life to be standing side by side with each and every one of you as we defend and stand on the front line together. You know, I know that this isn't our first time coming together. Last week we had a teach-in. You've probably seen things around the front line all across the day. The daily meditations and prompts that you got in your text, if you've opted into our text-in. And also this amazing teach-in that we had last week. We held an online teaching that brought together over 1,200 people from all over the country to talk about our game plan should the various election scenarios play out. And you know what? We're good strategists because we thought about just this exact moment that we're living in. One of the core concepts of that teaching, though, was that this idea that there is something called a margin of contestation. I know, when I first heard it, I was like, what? But thanks to my comrade Cindy, she was able to break it down for us. And it's part of something that surrounds elections. It's a mouthful, I tell you, but let's break it down for us. It simply means that the size of the difference between a very clear election result and one that is not clear at all. Like, it's basically the difference between those things. The less clear the result, the bigger the margin. The bigger the margin, the more likely a candidate like Trump might try to falsely claim victory. Let's be clear about this right now. The margin of contestation is not just about the numbers. It is also about perception. Like, what do people believe? What are people being told? In the court of public opinion, a lot can be gained by simply trying to act like a winner, or even when you're losing. And let's be real, this is Donald Trump's specialty because he's a real big loser and he got to the White House in some way. But here's the good news. Despite his desperate efforts late last night to declare a premature victory, I know if you were like me, we were on Twitter and we saw that tweet that he came out. We know without need for more clarity that Trump is losing, both in the real numbers and in the court of public opinion. So in a few minutes, we're going to be able to get some reports from the states. And I'm so honored to be able to have folks that have been on the ground in places like Arizona and Nevada. But I want to share some key points for us to remember. The first one is that our numbers and our movement, they're on our side. We have won Wisconsin. We have won Michigan. And we are already ahead in Arizona and Nevada when Latinos voters played a critical role in saying no to Trump. Basta Trump, basta Arpaio. All of those people, all of those bullies that came after our folks, they are gone. And while we know that there are still votes that remain to be counted there, they are from Democratic areas. So all eyes right now are in Pennsylvania. all of those eyes, like we're all of our hearts and our energies are with our folks in Pennsylvania, where there's still millions of votes that people are still counting. And media reports show that some of them are breaking very heavily in the favor of Joe Biden. Even Georgia is still in play. And sisters and brothers, I know, and siblings, I know that you know that is not a coincidence. It's called organizing. All of this adds up to a very clear path for Joe Biden to become president. And this is why Trump and his enablers are so frantic. You may see him on CNN, on Twitter, everywhere else. They're trying to make these wild claims and legal challenges that have no merit. It is their last ditch effort to grasp onto power. And I tell you why. Because we have already won. This is not about Trump versus Biden anymore. This is about Trump versus American democracy. And we the people, you and I, ustedes y yo, we're not going to give up any ground. We're not going to say, okay, bye. We know that we're standing on firm ground because we are together on this front line. And I am so ready to win. I'm so ready to celebrate, and I am so ready to govern. I'm going to pass it off to my brother and someone that I have learned to lean on and count on, Maurice Mitchell. I'll give it up to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Gracia. And I don't know about anybody else in the audience, but after hearing Gracia, I am fired up. Hi everyone. Hi, all the thousands of you. This is Maurice Mitchell. I am National Director of the Working Families Party. Before I begin, I just want to encourage any of you that are on social media, if you're watching on Facebook or if you're on social media, if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag #MakeItCount if you want to share any words that are inspiring, any words that you want to share with your social media audience. So now that we know that Trump is going to be a one-term president, I have to say that again. Now that we know that Trump is going to be a one-term president, let's switch gears and look at where things stand right now. And first, we absolutely need to acknowledge this was not a landslide victory for Biden. It wasn't. In fact, a big storyline coming out of this election was that under Biden, we have seen some support weaken from some important voting populations. For example, Trump gained support from both Latinx voters and Black voters compared to 2016. Our movement is going to need to grapple with this reality as we move forward and really try to understand what's underlying that support. The other thing that we need to talk about is the rules of the game. Now, more than ever, it is clear how the American political system was built to protect the powerful, built to protect power of rural white communities and suppress the voices of Black and brown and poor folks. It's a system that was built to protect the power of slave owners, and it's still doing what it was designed to do today, to dilute our power and silence our voices and strengthen the voices of the power elite. The structure of the US Senate, the Electoral College, all of it was built to constrain the popular will. Now, that leaves us in a tough spot. We have to build enough power for working people within a rigged system to unrig it. So wherever we do make gains, we need to look for opportunities to use those gains to change the rules to benefit working people, not the bosses. So long term, we'll never have the democracy we need until we end the filibuster in the Senate, expand the Supreme Court, make DC a state. Anybody in DC, do you hear me? It's time that you're represented. No taxation without representation, and do so much more. But to get there, we likely need to win more Senate seats in 2022, right? We'll see. And we're looking at all of the races, including very, very close races in Georgia. Now, another takeaway should be that we are now dealing with a different battle in the court of public opinion. In this case, it is a battle over interpreting what Biden's victory means. The way this plays out over the next couple of days will have very serious consequences for the kind of president Joe Biden becomes. And so this is what we have to fight for, that narrative, that message of who the winners were and who the losers were. So for decades, the establishment of the Democratic Party has written off large swaths of our base, especially in the South, as Red America, again and again. They've refused to invest, except maybe to swoop in during the last few weeks of a campaign for GOTV to turn out the quote unquote base, but organizers in these communities are showing us what's possible. Georgia was deep red until it wasn't. Now, a key vote in the Senate may hinge on Georgia with a runoff election of Reverend Raphael Warnock. The battle ahead is not going to be an easy battle. And it's not going to be any easier than the battle behind us. But we are building durable power for the multiracial working class, state by state, county by county, city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood. That work has never been more essential. Now, I'm so honored to pass it to my sister, my friend, my partner in crime, Jessica Bird, who's going to tell us more about the transformative agendas that lay ahead of us if we build that type of organizing.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Bird. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm proud to be one of the leaders of the Electoral Justice Project of the Movement for Black Lives. And over this last year, the Movement for Black Lives has been incredibly, incredibly brave, being in defense of Black lives as well as Black votes. And yesterday, we had a multi-state operation in which hundreds of organizers across the country were working to engage Black voters as well as protect Black people. Shout out to everyone who has been keeping each other safe during these really strange, but also motivating times. You know, all around us, our communities are in crisis. COVID is still raging. Millions of families are going hungry and staring down evictions. And while so many people remain out of work, Trump and Senate Majority Leader McConnell have blocked desperately needed relief since May. Police continue to murder Black people with impunity before our eyes. The deportation and war machines keep grinding, and climate change is bearing down on us with serious force and speed. And all while billionaires are getting disgustingly richer, and they're the beneficiaries of a government that caters to their every need, which is exactly what they're working to protect right now. But all power to the people, Black people and brown people, indigenous people, all of the people have power. And we have shown that over the summer, this fall, and we certainly showed that yesterday and will continue to press on into this new year. In the midst of all of this, our communities have been caring for each other like never before. The resistance, the solidarity. It's one of the most beautiful things about 2020 in the midst of all of that has been, all that we faced. The massive outpouring of votes in this election was an expression of that care. The massive protection and making sure that people had a clear path to the polling locations, that was an expression of care. And along with so many of you, the Frontline, Working Families Party, Movement for Black Lives, and our partners across the country created the People's Charter as an expression of the powerful ways that we are caring for each other. And in it, we laid out an extremely clear plan for how this country needs to be governed so that all of us can get well, stay well, and finally change this country so our people never have to live through this again. I want everyone here to know what the People's Charter says because I think it speaks powerfully to what we all need. First, care for the wronged, repair historic harm, and end systemic racism. Second, emergency care now. Help everyone get and stay well and get the health care that they need and support workers, families, and small businesses for as long as it takes. Third, a good job for everyone who needs one. Working people can't wait years for jobs to come back. We can't wait for the government to decide that our lives matter. We need millions of excellent paying jobs right now. And fourth, care for each other. Address the deficiencies, the inadequacies, and the rigged system, and demonstrate that we can care for us and that what this pandemic has revealed can still be made real for all of our people. And fifth, care for our future. Act now to make us all resilient to the challenges we know that we have to confront. So if you haven't already, I'm asking you today to sign your name to the People's Charter and become a WFP supporter. I'm a proud executive committee member of the Working Families Party, and I'm happy to have a home in a multi-racial Working People's United Front. So you should join us. You can do it right now by texting the word charter, CHARA. It's been a long 48 hours. You can do it right now by texting the word charter, CHARTER, to 30403. 30403. So I want you to sign on today to say that you're going to be a part of the fight to win the country we need, the country we deserve, a nation where each of us has a rightful and meaningful place. With that, I wish you all a little bit of rest. I wish you the peace and joy that we deserve for all of our hard work. And I'm going to pass it back to Nicholas O'Rourke to take us into the rest of the program.
Much. Queen Goddess Jessica Bird bringing us all the way in. We heard from the National Director, Maurice Mitchell, with his leadership, as well as our sister Gracia. What a fabulous panel of great leaders who helped set the stage and ground us this evening. So excited for all of you that are still with us to hear again, even in your own ears, the grounding and really the center focus of the People's Charter being care, something that I hope is really penetrating all of your hearts and reminding you about the way that we need to operate and show up going forward as we build the kind of world that we know we deserve. The right wing loves it when we are confused and disoriented. So taking some time to root our work in political education helps us align our analysis and makes us stronger for the struggle ahead. The next thing we want to do on this call, in that light, is get reports from the field, from the ground, where everything is happening. We've asked movement leaders from a number of critical states to join us and give us a brief report on what is happening on the ground. In this section, we want to really drill down on the state fights that our comrades all over the country are leading. So, with that having been said, to start, I want to turn to a state that is keeping us all on the edge of our seats. I know a lot of y'all may know it as a state, but we're really a commonwealth, and it's the place from where I reign, and where I'm excited to be in a partnership, to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with, to be able to do real work and build with here in PA, none other than the executive director of the 215 People's Alliance, as well as the Movement Alliance Project. Let's make some noise and give it up for my dear friend and brother, BRYAN MERCER from PA. Let's pass it off to BRYAN.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Hi, I'm BRYAN MERCER, calling in from Philadelphia, and I'm just humbled to tell you a little bit about what's going down on the front lines in Pennsylvania. We remember well in PA that in the 2016 election, the state came down to 44,000 votes. Since then, across Pennsylvania, we've been building power on the streets and at the ballot box to change that situation. We've gotten working families candidates into office, including Kendra Brooks, with a historic win to Philadelphia City Council on the working families ticket. And with this election, we are poised to win with a wave of WFP-backed candidates like Nikhil Saval and Rick Krajewski, who are ready to push our movement's agenda in the PA legislature. In the last 3 months, WFP PA sent over 2 million text messages and made over 1 million calls to Black voters in Northwest and Southwest Philly and to the multiracial working class across the state. This has all been no small feat, as literally the rules to this election are still being battled in the court, with the GOP trying to deny the rights of tens of thousands of voters. This year was the first time Pennsylvania had early voting and no excuse mail-in voting, and confusion for voters on the change in rules has been high. WFPPA spearheaded the Vote Today Philly program to get people to use that early voting system, and it worked with over 2 million people voting early in our state. And then yesterday, we had hundreds of frontline election defenders. We had voter guardians trained from Pittsburgh to Allegheny. We had Joy to the Polls with concerts for folks waiting in long lines. And the People's Kitchen from the 215 People's Alliance served over 5,000 meals to people at the polls. We got here because WFP represents and throws down with so many movement forces in Philly, groups like Power, Free the Ballot, One Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania Stands Up and Reclaim Philadelphia, the Sunrise Movement and neighborhood networks, along with service worker unions like SEIU and Unite Here. We saw new organizing in the Asian Pacific Islander community with APIPA and deep engagement of Latinos from Make the Road, Pennsylvania. And there were so many more groups from all the members of Pennsylvania Voice to the Alliance for Just Philadelphia, throwing down in the selection that I'd use up the rest of my time just trying to name them. With all that work, though, our battle is still not over in Pennsylvania. By the latest reports, 14% of the ballots still need to be counted. The Trump campaign was pushing lies all this afternoon to sow distrust in the vote count in Philly, and the GOP is backing lawsuits to stop the count in Montgomery County. We see what they are trying to do, and we will not let them. We won't let them, even as our city is still hurting from the police murder of Walter Wallace Jr. And those scars feel real fresh right now with the release of the body cam footage of that killing just hours ago. We are demanding our mayor and city council immediately fire the officers involved, that no new money goes to police and useless reforms like tasers, and trained mental health professionals instead of police are responding to those types of situations. So Philly movements have been putting in the work, and we're going to remain steadfast. If you want to throw down with us, you can join us in the coming days for text parties to reach every Philadelphian and let them know that we demand justice for Walter Wallace, and to reach every Pennsylvanian and let them know that we will make sure every vote is counted. If you're listening to the audio on your phone, you can press *8 to join us for those text parties. If you're watching online, you can join the link to join us for those text parties. We need you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate you for what you have lifted up tonight. Again, we want to reemphasize here, press *8. If you want to get connected with that, we're lifting up the demands that are so important. We're remembering Walter Wallace Jr. As the family has asked us, even this evening, we say, long live Walter Wallace Jr. And the demands we're asking for is that all the cops be fired, that no new money goes to the PPD that already has almost $1 billion, and that they ban police from mental health calls. So again, thank you for that. That having been said, we want to shift gears from PA. We want to go ahead and slide up to Michigan. We have representation from Michigan under the person of Brandon Snyder. Brandon, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me, Nicholas?
I can hear you loud and clear, my friend. Y'all take it away.
Bet. So what up, though, folks? My name is Brandon Snyder. I'm the executive director of Detroit Action. We're a grassroots, member-led, community-based organization building political power and fighting for racial and economic justice for working-class Black and brown Detroiters. So this has been obviously a crazy year. We started this year off being one of the spaces where the last ride in the primary election was held, where where the Biden train started to make its comeback, and we were also a place at the beginning of the pandemic where Black and brown Michiganders, Black and brown Detroiters were getting beat up on by the COVID-19 virus. You've seen the news, and you know that Michigan has been a place where folks have even thought about trying to kidnap our governor to stop the COVID-19 shutdowns to protect against the pandemic. All of those dog whistles and all of those calls against racial justice and against the idea of building community and supporting this idea of isolation and supporting solidarity have been things that Detroit Action have been trying to fight against. So against the idea that we're better off by ourselves than as community. Things that we need to rely on the benevolence of billionaires and corporations instead of community care. And we took that model, we took that ethos into this election series where we wanted to make sure that we were talking to thousands upon thousands of working class Black and brown voters about the world that they would want to experience if we worked together, if we built the type of politics that we deserve. And so I'm happy to report to y'all, and I'm happy to let y'all know that just a couple hours ago, that our hard work of engaging 22 working class Black and brown folks as canvassers and hundreds of Black and brown Detroiters as volunteers throughout this year led to Vice President Joe Biden winning Michigan. Over 12,000 same-day voter registrations and 20,000 first-time voters, people who directly spoke to Detroit Action. So we couldn't have done this alone. What it took for us and how we were able to get there was deep love and support and relationship building with folks like Frontline, with folks like the Working Families Party, with folks like the Movement for Black Lives. We were able to host and train hundreds of election defenders who were engaged here in Wayne County, but also throughout the state, making sure that we were able to de-escalate situations at the polls, making sure that people had the correct information on how to do same-day voter registration, how to do and how to vote in this new system, making sure that people understood what it took to win and why their vote was important. And then our friends and our allies here in the state, under the banner We Make Michigan, a number of our allies like We the People Michigan, like Mother and Justice or Michigan Liberation or 482 Forward, came together last night as Republican challengers were trying to throw a monkey wrench in the counting of votes here in the city of Detroit. We came together, we mobilized hundreds of people to show up and be nonpartisan vote challengers to make sure that all votes were counted and all voices were heard. And so we know that we're not done yet. We know that this one win for Vice President Biden just ain't enough if we want to have the world that we deserve. And so through our coalition, through our partnerships with folks like the Working Families Party, we're going to continue to build, and we're going to continue to create the world that we deserve, and we're going to continue to build political power for the folks that matter most to us. Thank you.
Brandon, thank you for that read. We appreciate that. Great insight, great information to help us get a good grasp of about what's happened on the ground in Michigan. We're going to go ahead and take a sidestep over to the other part of that little, as they say, that blue wall up there, into Wisconsin. I almost said Wisconsin. That's how you know I got to get myself together. It's Wisconsin. And from Wisconsin, we have my comrade, my colleague, someone who's been doing incredible work for some time up there, another member of the Working Families Party. Let's give it up for Priscilla BORT. Are you there, Priscilla?
I'm here, Nicholas.
Handle your business.
Awesome. So hi, everyone. My name's Priscilla BORT. I'm an organizer with the Wisconsin Working Families Party. I came to WFP a little over 2 years ago as a volunteer. Next week actually marks my 2-year WFP organizing anniversary. And I think it's fair to say last night and this afternoon was a great anniversary achievement. This election cycle was so tough in Wisconsin, but in the end, we created this community of Wisconsin residents fighting for the many, not the wealthy few. We learned how to digitally organize, how to provide a space virtually for our volunteers, not just in Milwaukee, but all over the state, and welcome them into a political home. This cycle brought us 2,000 volunteer shifts since Labor Day, and those volunteers sent 3.2 million texts, made 900,000 phone calls, and collected 90,000 commitments to vote. The victories that we saw last night and into this morning and this afternoon with our 10 state assembly champions and Wisconsin flipping blue and choosing Biden were because of our volunteers' hard work. Yesterday, our election defenders were also out in Kenosha, Racine, and Milwaukee, and Joy to the Polls provided some fun and positivity to those waiting in line. Our defenders also went with our Milwaukee Teachers Union to wish ballot counters well throughout the evening. These victories in Wisconsin did not happen without the work of allies like BLOC, Black Leaders Organizing for Communities, Voces de la Frontera, and the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We've all been working since the beginning of the pandemic to make sure Wisconsin voters had a safe and secure way to vote and make their voices heard. The Wisconsin Republicans work hard to suppress votes and make voting as difficult as possible, to work against the safety of voters and everyone in this pandemic. We don't know what their next plan is yet, but we have an idea. We're currently in recount territory, and the Trump campaign has already said they will request one. In Wisconsin, a candidate can ask for a recount when the difference of votes is 1% or under. Biden is standing firm and has said that he believes his campaign has won Wisconsin, recount or no recount. The campaign has 1 day after the Wisconsin Election Commission receives the final results to request a recount. Some are projecting that this might not happen until December 1st, though. Then the state has 13 days to complete the recount. And of course, he can challenge the results of the recount as well. We're working to build a progressive base in Wisconsin. Yesterday and today and this entire election cycle was a door, but not the destination. Our work continues with the People's Charter and the 1,000 supporters and voters who have signed on in Wisconsin. It continues with our newly elected champions, holding them accountable to working families' values. Finally, we'll continue our fight in Kenosha. We marched all summer and fall for Justice for Jacob Blake and all of the other Black and brown lives cut short and hurt and endangered by militarized police. We rallied and brought that energy to the ballot box. This is the same energy that we need to hold Wisconsin elected officials accountable. We will not allow them to just play lip service to the idea that Black lives matter. It's incredible to watch the state I was born and raised in and have lived my whole life in decide our next president. The signal that Wisconsinites are more than ready for a more fair Wisconsin, and we're ready to welcome them into our political home.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Good news. I know that the poll came up that there was a lot of anxiety, but I think as a result of the grounding that we have had and the other insight that's been given and all these wonderful reads from the ground, I hope that is beginning to shift out of anxiety into more hopefulness. So thank you so much, Priscilla, for that. We're going to go ahead and move all the way down to the dirty South, down in Florida. It's looking real good down there. We have Alphonso Mayfield, who's going to give us a read from the ground in Florida. Alphonso, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you for having me.
SEIU.
My name is Alphonso Mayfield. My name is Alphonso Mayfield. I'm president of Florida Public Services Union and a Florida Fall Executive Committee member. I've been in Florida since 2009. I'm a Mississippi native, but I moved to Florida because I'm committed to building progressive power in the South, specifically in communities of color. We are part of the IPO Florida Fall, the Florida Fall Coalition, which is part of Frontline. A few highlights from this cycle. Our coalition has won 69 out of 106 general election races and won another 25 races outright in the primary. We also pulled out a win for Amendment 2, which was a minimum wage ballot amendment, and we defeated a jungle primary amendment, which was Amendment 3. Amendment 2 would gradually raise wages to $15 an hour in the state. Together, our coalition had over 1 million conversations with voters through phones, text, and at the doors. We knocked on over 1 million doors and made 24 million calls and texts to reach our communities. And we did that based on the constituencies, not a one-size-fits-all approach. We talked to specific constituencies in the way that best fit them. Our remaining obstacles have been curing ballots in the one election that's going to a runoff. And I'm proud that we passed the minimum wage increase, elected a progressive Miami mayor, elected progressive prosecutors in Broward and Orlando. And I'm really proud that we centered our campaign on giving a voice to constituencies who are often ignored by the normal party infrastructure, and lifting up those voices and building a campaign infrastructure that was comprised of people from those communities and looked, sounded, and acted like the communities that we care about. I'm proud of our SEIU members who were part of the coalition and that worked hard, and the people who worked in Fight for 15 in the union that also made fast food workers and other workers of color's voices heard in this fight. So thank you.
Alfonso, I think I heard you say 24 million calls. Incredible. That's labor for you. Labor power getting it done down there in Florida. So grateful for the work that you guys did. All of the things that you accomplished in this election cycle. Now we're going to slide back on over to Georgia, just north of Florida. We are obviously still listening in and watching how that's rolling out. But we have seen some incredible work down there. Excited to hear from the ground. INSÉ UFOT. Is INSÉ with us?
What's happening, everybody? I'm NSÉ UFOT. I'm the CEO of the New Georgia Project Action Fund, and I'm here to tell you loud and clear that it ain't over. We are looking at a 38,000 vote gap between the current president and Biden, and over 100,000 votes that still need to be counted in Fulton County and Chatham County. That's Atlanta and Savannah, two of the blackest parts of our state. I'm so excited to be here with you all. Listen, I feel like, the conventional wisdom that has permeated conversations about what's possible in American politics is thoroughly and roundly being discredited right now. The idea that there are red states and blue states is currently being challenged, and I'm so proud of what's happening in my home state of Georgia. It's neck and neck right now, and we expected it. We've been planning for it. We've been building for it. At least one, if not two, United States runoffs for the U.S. Senate are going to take place in our state January 5th. Mark that date on your calendars, 15 days before the inauguration. From what I understand, that there are 4 seats that are needed to be flipped in order to gain control of the United States Senate, and possibly 2 of them are going to be on the ballot in Georgia. And I want to be very, very clear that electoral outcomes in Georgia are determined by 1, who shows up, and 2, whose votes get counted. Black voters have showed up, and now we are doing everything that we can to make sure that their votes get counted. The votes that are left in the presidential race are largely vote by mail ballots, and again, from Democratic strongholds like DeKalb, Fulton, and Chatham County. We expect the margin to continue to narrow, and we have to make sure that every eligible vote is counted. We are encouraging voters to go to checkmyballot.net to see if their ballot was counted. So it's checkmyballot.net. And to volunteer to help every vote get counted. We're encouraging folks to go to tinyurl.com/Georgia training. We are winning. We've already won. We have flipped 5 to 10 state house races. That matters to us because in a country where the minimum wage is $7.25, in our state of Georgia, the minimum wage is actually $5.15. And we have state elected officials who are not embarrassed by that. And there's an opportunity for Georgians to push for a wage that not only sustains themselves, but sustains families. We defeated the district attorney who tried to cover up Ahmaud Arbery's murder. It took 74 days for them to make any kind of moves, and they had video evidence of it. Not only that, but we flipped DA and sheriff's races in counties across the state, particularly sheriffs and DAs who have agreed to end Georgia's 287G program, which allows local law enforcement to act like ICE agents. So the Georgia of our dreams is being built right now. And so regardless of what is tweeted, whatever disinformation and misinformation is coming from this administration or people that support them, know this, that we're coming, that the work that we've been doing over the past couple of years is paying off, that we are seeing that we're keeping our foot on their necks, and we're going to make sure that nothing is called before every vote gets counted. I'm so happy. We subscribe to the gospel choir theory of organizing, the idea that everyone can hold their note and that we can hold a longer note, because when individual vocalists needs to drop out, that the note continues, that the song continues. And so I'm super pumped to be in community with Working Families Party. The idea that there's a political home for progressive Southerners, an opportunity for us to organize together to build this multiracial, multi-ethnic, multilingual progressive majority in the Deep South. We've knocked on almost 1 million doors, activated 5,000 volunteers, made over 3 million phone calls, sent over 2 million text messages, and it ain't over. So I'm super happy, again, to be with you all this evening, and thank you.
Oh, thank you, INSÉ. You got Georgia on my mind. That's that good working y'all been doing down there. Organizing works when you work it. So grateful for what you have done. INSÉ said they're building the Georgia of their dreams. It's being built right now. And she also reminded us to make sure that on January 5th, we don't forget that date. There's 4 states or 4 Senate seats that we need to flip the Senate. And 2 of those are going to happen in Georgia. So grateful for the work that y'all doing. I think Georgia going to be on our mind for a long time. But let me tell you something. It's looking like Arizona's going to be on that mind too, because we need to hear from the folks on the ground. And I think just now we had a report about Arizona. Go ahead and is in the bag right now. Has it been called already? Let's hear from Alejandra Gomez, who's down in Arizona doing great work down there to give us the play from the ground. Alejandra?
Hi, everyone. I am so honored to be on with you all today with so many powerful organizers across the country and be able to bring the power of our members onto this call, because they have been fighting for the last 10 years to be able to have people not knowing what to call in Arizona, but we called it. It is blue, and we flipped it Lucha Blue, and we are so excited because that was 10 years in the making. And what that has meant for Arizona is we did not listen to the conventional wisdom. We did not listen to the naysayers that were calling the question on our strategies. We are the experts in our communities, and we demonstrated that when we center the people, that when we center our issues, and we build multiracial coalitions, as NSA was saying, we win. And in Arizona, we did not stop working. It's about being able to maintain the long view. And so while we were having to defend our communities from anti-immigrant legislation and the targeting of Arpaio, a racist sheriff, we were also making sure that we were expanding the electorate and including those that had been left out of the political arena. And so for us, it was important, especially in this election, to do the campaigns our way. So we had billboards with Chapulín Colorado, who is a big icon within the Latino community, hundreds of them across the state. And so for us to be able to message in the way that our communities can feel themselves, can see themselves, is how we win. And it's also an invitation to our communities so that they know that they can trust us and that we see them. For us also, we're just so proud that we saw historic returns of the BIPOC community. And that effort was absolutely intentional. That was an effort of the MeAZ Coalition, a configuration of Our Voice, Our Vote, a Black-led organization, Chispa Arizona, a Latino environmental organization, our local Unite Here union, and then also Mi Familia Vota. For us, we need to build durable ecosystems that last and that are thinking into the future. And so it was incredible. I believe that we are still trying to feel the win. I think we know that we have flipped the legislature, but we're still really looking to some local victories. And so we are waiting to see what transpires after all of the votes are counted, because it's so incredibly critical. But what we also know is that the rich are going to be taxed. And Prop 208, which is to fund education, passed, and our communities are ready for a better day, a brighter future in Arizona, and our communities were the ones that delivered that our way.
Thank you such good news, not just from you, Alejandra, but from all of you. Thank you all for leading the fight in your states. We are all with you. Everybody on the call is with you. Everyone who's watching on Facebook Live and other streaming platforms, we're all with you, and we are deeply grateful for the work that you all have put forward to bring us to the point that we are in now. Our movement has been preparing for this moment for a long time, y'all. When we created the Frontline, it was in the wake of the largest street protest movement in U.S. history just this past summer. Our goal was to give an electoral expression to this grassroots movement. Together, we have been in the streets. We coordinated a massive voter contact program, and we trained thousands of election defenders to protect our vote. The front line of our battle is shifting. We're ready for that as well. We organized this call because no matter what happened, we knew our fight would not end on election day. We always knew that election day would not be our endpoint. This united front aims to organize over the next critical months to shift the terrain that we organize on permanently. So what makes all the magic of this call tonight? Who makes the work of any campaign possible? It's all of us. Every single one of us. In addition to being fueled by your time, we need our movement to be funded by our working class people. Each person on this call, we are the donors we have been waiting for. We don't have to look around elsewhere. It's us. And the truth is, the wealthy and well-connected are experts at taking care of themselves to the neglect of everyone else. But working class people are experts at taking care of each other. Working class people, we know how to pull together. Throughout the pandemic, we've shared our extra food and our supplies for our neighbors, chipped in funds to take care of each other. Y'all know, now it's time to pass the hat for the front line. Each one of you are invited to offer time and financial resources. What is a meaningful financial contribution to you tonight? What can you throw down to power our movement to face the challenges ahead? We invite you to contribute $20, $50. Many of you can do $100 tonight, right now. Maybe you're someone who can give even a little bit more than that. No matter your financial contribution, no matter the size of it, there is a space for you in this movement. And we want you to go ahead and feel at liberty to go ahead and give right now. To make a contribution, if you're joining by phone, go ahead and press *8. Again, if you're joining by phone, go ahead and press *8. If you're watching live, text ACTION to 30403. Again, if you're watching live, go ahead and text ACTION, that's ACTION, to 30403. You'll receive a text message with a link to take action and donate. Anything and everything that you can give tonight will be deeply appreciated, and it's a seed that's being sowed into good ground that will ultimately blossom and bloom into the world that we know that we deserve. Now, that having been said, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a true champion of the people, a true fighter for our democracy. In 2018, she ran for governor in a little state called Georgia and inspired millions of people all over the country with her passionate campaign, which raised our expectations of what is possible for our movement in the South. And make no mistake, we will not change America if we don't change the South. She knows firsthand the impact that voter suppression has had on our efforts, the efforts to win for our people. But far from becoming a cynical or retreating person, she has just fought even harder every step of the way. She's a lawyer, she's an author, and a former elected official, where she served as the minority leader in the Georgia House of Representatives. She is also the founder of Fair Fight Action to End Voter Suppression in our country. Can y'all give me a big old warm welcome to our friend and our sister? Please join me in welcoming Stacey Abrams to the call.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for such a generous introduction. And thank you to everyone for the work that you've been doing. I don't have a lot to add. I've been listening to the state reports, and every single thing that has been said has been not only true, but prophetic. We are in this for the long haul. We are in a much better position than people realize. And we are about to make certain that we dump Trump. But this is not about him. This is about us. It's about the nation we want to create, the communities we want to inhabit, the future we want to build. And we know that that future is happening now. And so it's been said time and again, but I'm going to repeat it because it bears repeating. We have to be patient. We have to wait, because as we get these numbers in from across the country, we are not simply thinking about the top of the ticket. We are thinking about all of those people who are going to shape the next 2 years, the next 4 years, the next decade of our lives. INSÉ reported on what's happening here in Georgia, the work that's been done to remove district attorneys who do not believe their responsibility is actual justice. But we also have to think about states where we are changing the compositions of mayor's offices and city council members, where we are about to begin a redistricting process in 2021 that will reshape the US House, but also state legislatures. The determining factor of whether or not we have access to reproductive justice, to criminal justice, to environmental justice. These things happen closer to home, and that's why every vote must be counted, because it's not just about what we're doing at the national level. I was with the Earth Gang a few weeks ago, and they said something that I have appropriated again and again. The closer we get to the bottom of the ballot, the closer we get to home, and it's the closer we get to the truth. And so every moment of this election, when we were making calls and sending texts, and what we're going to be doing over the next few days and the next few weeks, as we chase ballots, as we cure ballots, as we make sure provisional ballots become real votes, it is about coming as close to home and as close to the truth as possible. Now, some of the truth is ugly. We live in a nation that is suborning racism, that suborns discrimination, where half of the people in this country found it acceptable to have a misogynistic, racist demagogue in the White House who was lying about how to save our lives. But the reality is half isn't the whole, and the other half is even larger than we imagine. That's the work we've been doing in Georgia. That's the work I've been trying to do across this country. It's the work that helped me get started in Mississippi, where I grew up. I was born in Wisconsin, came of age in Georgia after we moved here, lived in Texas for a while, went to Connecticut for a minute, came back south as soon as humanly possible. And this is where I have made my stand, because when the South rises, we lift everyone with us. When Black communities rise, we lift everyone with us. When Latino communities rise, we lift everyone. When AAPI communities rise, we lift everyone. When Native American communities rise, we lift everyone. When the marginalized and the disadvantaged rise, we gain the power that belongs to us. And we know that power is real because they are doing everything in their power to stop us from achieving our own. But I know a little something about power. I've been watching it for a long time, rarely had any of it of my own. But what I've learned is that you don't get the power you ask for, you get the power you take. But we have to have the patience of Job and the wisdom of Deborah to get this done. Job understood that it would not happen overnight, but joy cometh in the morning. And Deborah understood that wisdom is not born, it is learned. And we have learned the wisdom of our age in this election, because we didn't get everything we wanted. And we're not going to get all the hope and dreams that we poured in to what could have happened. That is not going to come to fruition, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that we tried and we made progress. That's what we've done in Georgia, election after election, year after year, when people compared us to Lucy in the football with Charlie Brown. Why bother? Because it's never going to happen. Well, the possible never happens until the impossible stops. And we made the possible happen, and we can do it across this country. We can do it in every community, and we can do it on every issue, because we will not stop. We will not give in. We will not give up, but more importantly, we will dream bigger than they think our imaginations can contain. And that's why we do this, because we know what we are capable of. We know what a nation can be. And we know that one election is a marker. It is not a determination. It tells us what more work we have to do. It tells us how much further we have to go. And it tells us why we have to keep doing this. Because whether or not we take the Senate, we're going to add some folks. I'm sending Raphael Warnock to DC. But if we don't take all of the Senate seats, that does not mean we don't have access to justice, because they've got to spend 2 years answering our questions. And in 2022, I've already looked at the map. We've got some good opportunities among the states that are represented here. We've got chances in Florida, chances in North Carolina, chances in Ohio and Iowa. We've got a seat in Arizona and a seat in Georgia, and we are going to make certain that what we did not get done this time, we will get done next time, and the time after that, and the time after that, because justice has no timetable. Justice just has a destination, and that is the future. And so together, we will get this work done, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of Frontline, be a part of this community that believes in their leadership and believes in the future. And as I love to say, let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Where I come from, they call that a word in season. Now, if your ears were open, they that have an ear, let them hear what the Spirit is saying through the Reverend Stacey Abrams. Miss Abrams, we appreciate the work that you have done with the Fair Fight. It looks like it has paid off. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and thank you for those words. Now I'd like to introduce the esteemed Representative Rashida Tlaib. Hailing from Detroit, Michigan, she is a member of the squad who WFP proudly endorsed and who just won her second term. I said second term after fighting off challenges from the right. Representative, what words do you have for the people on tonight?
How incredibly proud I am for the movement work that led to the possibility of like taking Arizona, taking Georgia. Like NC said, I mean, that's 10 years in the making. So much of the work that you all have been putting towards making sure people like me and you and all of us are seen and heard at all levels of government. And so I just want to thank you and congratulate you in that you all have probably saved our country tonight from continued hate agenda coming out of the White House and so much other more painful oppression that we all feel. I know we're exhausted. I know we're tired, but I want you to know that because you focused on people, not polls, you focused on people, not the consultants and this transactional type of relationship that folks are thinking results in change and wins. It doesn't. Don't underestimate the direct human contact. Don't underestimate movement work around issue campaigns, ballot measures. All of that has amounted to us being able to raise our voices in such a powerful collective way. And so I just want to thank you all because I can tell you, sitting here in a 13 district where we are the third poorest congressional district in the country. And when we look at these numbers as they come in, it's communities like mine that have stood up and said, no more hate, no more corporate greed. We're tired of it. And they understand that what might result tonight is not our destination. It's just the door of the possibility. And I was taught here in one of the most beautiful, blackest cities in the country is that transformative change doesn't happen because of who's in the White House or who's in the halls of Congress. It's because of movement work. It's because we demand it from the street on. It starts right here, rooted in our communities. And so I want to thank you all so much for your courage and for your faith in believing in a people-centered movement and people, again, versus all of the other transactional kinds of types of politics that just has not worked for us. And it continues to fail our country. Thank you. Thank you for making Arizona, I loved it, Lucha Blue. Thank you to INSÉ and all the folks that work on increasing turnout in Georgia and really making sure communities of color are, again, seen and heard. I'm here with you all. Our squad is getting better, but bigger. Our squad is getting bigger. And what I love too is that we are also, when folks come on, let's turn out. I'm like, let's squat up. Let's just really understand that us activists, advocates should also be running for office, that it's about time that we don't wait and say, okay, let's bring a chair to the table. I'm about taking those chairs, shaking that table, and demanding change now because we're tired of waiting. So thank you again. I just cannot wait to see what we're capable of in the next year as we again continue to do this powerful work that is resulting in real change. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Every single time we hear you, we are encouraged. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to go ahead and pass to our last speaker of the evening for our closing call to action. Let's pass it over to Gracia.
Thank you so much, Nick. Wow. I don't know about you, but I need to take a little bit of a breath because that was a whole moment, a whole movement encapsulated in words. And sisters and brothers, I want you to know, and siblings, I want you to know that the power that you felt today, if you got chills just like I did, that is actually a reflection of your power. That this is a movement that belongs to you, and that this is a movement that is ready for your leadership. And so I am so excited. The front line of our battle is shifting, and we are ready because we have you. As we said at the beginning of the call, we are in one of those moments where history is changing in the blink of an eye. Undocumented young people demanding exactly what they wanted in the streets and abolishing ICE and CBP. Queer people making sure that everybody knows who they love and where they stand. We're in one of those moments where everything is becoming possible. And the actions that we take together right now will have reverberations in history. Knowing that, I want to make sure that you know some real ways that you can take part in this fight. No matter where you live in this country, no matter where if you're ready to be on the streets right now, if you're at home, I want you to know that there's a place for you in this front line, that I'm excited to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with you. So for the next month, we need everyone to be on this call, to be ready for action. So here are the things that we can do to make sure that we're moving together. Number one, you ready? Okay, we're gonna prepare for action. Regardless of if the election gets more contested or if Biden is declared a winner, we will prepare to move into action. We need people who are willing to host actions in your cities, those that are willing to come out to them and bring family and friends and food and music and joy. We need you. And we may not always get a lot of notice. I think that that's one of the things that makes this moment so electric, is that at any moment's notice, we must be able to move. We've done it before, we can do it again. So if you're willing to join a direct action team and be ready to take action with us, we ask you to join us on these Wednesday weekly mass calls. Wow, that's a word. And you're gonna remember it just because I will. Wednesday weekly mass calls is a place where you can get a word and you can get direction and we can go together. So if you're down to do that, I want you to press 1 right now. Numero uno, if you're ready to join our Wednesday weekly calls, if you're ready to join in action and be in joyful rebelling together, let's show up together. So go ahead and press 1 right now if you're ready for action and are going to join us these weekly mass calls. We have seen what the electoral process can do for us. We are undeniable, but we will not be limited by the electoral process. If you are willing to host and attend an action, press 1 now. Now, the second thing is I want you to join our text team. There are also things that you can do from home. We've reached millions of people to turn them out to vote, and our work is not done yet. This is our tool of mass communication. And if everyone on this call does every 1 hour of text messaging with us, we will be able to literally talk to millions of people. So if you're like me and you're always glued to your phone, this sounds like the best place for you. So if you want to join the text team, if you're joining by phone, press *6. And if you're watching live, I want you to make sure you text ACTION to 30403, and you'll receive a text message with a link to take action. Lastly, I want you to, as my brother Nick was saying, I want you to flank our movement with the resources that you have. Make a contribution to this movement that we own together. So join me in making sure that we are pressing *8. And if you're watching live, you can text action to 30403 and you'll receive a message where you can take action and donate with us. Okay, so you ready? Those are the 3 things. You can prepare for action and join us, being part of these weekly Wednesday mass calls. You can be part of the texting team, and you can make sure that you're contributing your little piece to make sure that we own our movement. So over the next month, we're gonna be busy, but I'm so ready. Because I promise you that the things from now on will ensure that everything comes out. I believe my mom taught me that every energy that you put into something is the energy that you get back. And so the energy that we're putting into this is love. We're putting some joy in here. We're putting some discipline and tenacity. We're not gonna back down. So we need all of you on the front lines in the weeks to come. The single easiest thing that you can do is to get up to the minute updates from all of us is to text Frontline to 30403. Again, want you to text Frontline to 30403. I promise you're going to want to get these texts. There's affirmations that come to you daily. There's moments of joy and levity, and there's also clear calls to action. So text Frontline to 30403. Do it now. If you have not done so already, we'll make sure that you get a text message back with further info and that you'll know exactly how to connect with us. Finally, I just want to say, this moment can be filled with a lot of uncertainty. But I know this, that you are worthy to be able to live in a country that sees you for exactly who you are. You are worthy of ensuring that you are safe and that you're able to breathe. You are worthy of all of the love that surrounds you. And the members of United We Dream Action, Working Families Party, the Movement for Black Lives Electoral Justice Project, all of us are ready to embrace you and to remind you just how worthy and just how ready we are to ensure that we're governing this country in a way that affirms our dignity. So with that, muchas gracias, and I'll hand it back up.
Thank you, Grayson. Thank you for giving us all the opportunity to be able to give and to be able to dig in on this in this moment. So appreciative of you and your leadership. Listen, y'all, thank you all for joining us tonight and staying with us. Thanks to all of you for rising up today to be a part of a pivotal moment of unification, learning, and planning together. Remember, we meet again next week at this same time. So go ahead and tell your friends, let somebody else know, and bring somebody back with you when we meet again. Stay strong, be empowered, stay on the front line. We got this. Peace.